I know, the video's here a day early this week. What's up with that? Well folks, I'm going to be at Fan Expo tomorrow, so this video this week is dropping on a Thursday, which reminds me, if you're also going to be at Fan Expo tomorrow, which is going to be Friday, come give me a shout, by all means. Let's chat Raptors basketball. What's up everybody? JJ Buckets here, and we, as you can tell by the title, again, we're going to talk X Factors, of course. Now, X Factors, what are they? Well, simply put, X Factors to me never involve guys like, some of the best talents on the team. So like, a guy like Pascal Siakam isn't an X Factor. A guy like Fred VanVleet, not an X Factor. X Factors, I think, in my opinion, are just the most uncontrollable variants that, if everything goes right with an X Factor, it makes a massive swing in regards to the results that you're going to see. And that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the three biggest X Factors heading into this Raptors season. Naturally, the usual thing that I say before every video, before I get into things, just make sure you leave me a like on the video. The algorithm absolutely loves likes. That sounds funny. So please smash that button for me. And wow, the usual drill changes this week, I guess, because we've officially hit 1K on this channel, and I couldn't be more thrilled. So instead of, well, I'm still going to tell you to subscribe if you're new here, but I'm going to give an absolute massive shout out to everybody that has subscribed to this point. Thank you so much. It feels so rewarding to finally crack that 1K mark, and I appreciate each and every one of you so damn much. That helped me get there, so genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you. All that being said, let's do the video. So the first X Factor is gonna be the Pro-Am legend himself. We're gonna talk about Malachi Flynn, right? So Malachi Flynn is heading into his third season now with the Raptors, and all offseason we have seen time and time again Malachi just tear up the Pro-Ams. And like, I know it's the Pro-Ams, like, don't get me wrong, I fully understand the context of that, but he's been tearing it up. Funny enough, one of my buddies was saying, listen, if you can just convince Malachi that every NBA game is a Pro-Am game, there's a chance that the Raptors break the Warriors' regular season record for wins. And yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. In all seriousness though, Malachi Flynn, the Raptors are still without a, well, perception-wise at least, going into things, the Raptors still don't really have that backup point guard, right? And I think the two guys that you're looking at for that potential role, if it can be filled, is Delano Banton and Malachi Flynn. Now, naturally, I think the leading thought going into it is Nurse does something akin to last season, where when Fred sits, kind of Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam kind of take over that role a little bit more as a point forward. But if you can get legitimate production from Malachi Flynn as a backup point guard, that genuinely shores up the Raptors' rotation off the bench so much more, and it gives them a reliable presence there. Now, obviously, Malachi has probably been an X Factor for a while now. I actually think he's quite literally the definition of an X Factor, because there's times where Malachi does get on the floor and he looks really good. But there's also times where Malachi gets on the floor and he looks lost and confused. If we get a season out of Malachi where he finally, I think, understands the reins and I guess the structure, and I'm not explaining this perfectly, but like, for Malachi, I think the IQ thing has been missing a little bit when it comes to NBA level basketball. If he can get a better grasp on that and on running the offense and just doing his part on this team, which I think off the bench as a point guard for this team, Nick Nurse is going to want defense, Nick Nurse is going to want facilitating, and Nick Nurse is going to want a little bit of a scoring punch. Those are all things that I think Malachi Flynn could very legitimately do. It's just a matter of actually seeing him do it on a consistent basis. If he can do that, and if he can get out of Nick Nurse's doghouse, it changes so much about what the Raptors are capable of doing when a guy like Fred VanVleet sits. You obviously don't have to run Fred VanVleet into the ground anymore, you know, playing him like close to 40 minutes a night because you don't have a legitimate NBA level backup at that position. Excuse me. If Malachi Flynn can give you that legitimate NBA backup at the point guard spot, the dynamic of this team changes so much so, and it only further solidifies the Raptors as one of the best teams in the conference. So Malachi, to me, easily one of the biggest X factors that's going to be heading into this season. The next X factor here that I want to discuss is going to be Christian Koloko. Now, my expectations for Christian Koloko in his first season at the very least are low, if I'm being honest. It's still funny, I don't believe as of the time of recording this video he's even signed his contract with the Raptors yet, which I'm sure that will happen. I mean, hopefully that will happen. Anywho, yeah, Koloko is somebody that I expect for the most part to get a lot of time in the G League this season, just kind of developing and growing his game, and I don't expect him to be a big part of the Raptors. On the other hand though, I would think to an extent his game is actually fairly NBA ready. So if he proves that early on and he is at least there for the matchups where you really need a big, like you need somebody that's just like a hulking tall man to defend some of these bigger centers in the NBA, kind of make those matchups a little bit easier. And if Koloko steps into that role, I think you got something there, right? And I think you got that presence that you want to be throwing regularly at these matchups. And obviously Koloko, we know he's going to bring defense to the table. Again, similar to Malachi with the IQ, if his IQ is there, that he knows his assignment and he knows what to do defensively at the NBA level, there's a good chance that he's going to get those spot minutes in those matchups and play like that 15 minutes, just kind of giving guys like Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, etc. hell at that spot. And obviously offensively, he has a chance to really be like a good lob threat for guys like Fred VanVleet and anybody conducting the offense. So with that in mind, genuinely speaking, if the man can show us a little bit of that NBA readiness in this first season, it just, again, similarly to what I was saying with Malachi, you get more versatility with what you can do off your bench, and you get a chance to, side note, my god, the lighting that's coming in right now from the sun coming up and down, crazy. Anywho, wow, that's really changed now. You know what, I'm just gonna run with it at this point. Y'all know exactly what's going on right now. Christian Koloko just gives them a chance to have that matchup specific extra asset off the bench if he can show his NBA readiness early on. Otherwise, for the most part, I think I'd be expecting him to have just a G League filled season. But if he's a little more ready than that, then the Raptors have yet another tool in the toolbox that will make them dangerous in this season. So the last one here challenges my original statement a little bit about what I consider an X factor, because to an extent, this is an established talent that we know is good, but there's still a very genuine reason why I do believe that Precious Achiuwa is an X factor going into this season. Now, why is that? Well, I think it's again, like with any X factor, like it's the element of unpredictability. And with Precious last season, it was such a swift turnaround from beginning of the season to the end of the season in terms of what we saw from Precious Achiuwa, and it was the massive leap in development by season's end that, you know, once it came to the playoffs, like the man was solidified in his role and just a massive piece of the rotation, whereas early on in the season he was a good bench piece that would give you moments where you were like, oh, holy hell, he'll be a threat in the NBA, and then he would give you games that were absolute stinkers, and you'd just be like, yeah, this is clearly a man still trying to figure it out. So I include Precious Achiuwa here because if he at any point in this upcoming season is going to give you that kind of massive leap from beginning to end in terms of just developing something new by season's end, holy hell, can he raise the ceiling of the Raptors. Again, last season started off with him being a shaky bench presence to end of the season he was integral to the team. A lot of people liken Precious Achiuwa and his odds to win the Most Improved Player of the Year this season, and quite frankly, you can count me amongst that group. I think he has a very legitimate chance at that award, mostly because, again, if we get any kind of trajectory similar to last season, by season's end, this man could be an all-star level player. With Precious, you obviously know the physical gifts are there and the talent is there. A lot of what you want out of an NBA pro with Precious is there. For him, it's the feel of the game that once it comes to him and once he understands everything that he's capable of doing, Precious Achiuwa has a chance to be a very special talent in the NBA. And how quickly he realizes that, I think, is what makes him an X factor here. Because if Precious Achiuwa is going out there at the start of the season and looking what he looked like towards the end of last season, which was a very good player, and by season's end he is a regular starting caliber center in the league, he's made his way into the starting lineup and he's giving you that regular reliable production, wow. At that point, the Raptors are suited and ready to make a push for something legitimate this season, for an Eastern Conference Finals run. Who knows? Maybe, strong maybe, but maybe a finals run. Like, there was a quote the other day, I think it was again, anonymous exec or something like that, called the Raptors the biggest quote-unquote sleeping giant in the NBA. Or, sorry, not in the NBA, I think it was in the Eastern Conference. And part of what I think would contribute to that sleeping giant being an awakened giant is the continued emergence of Precious Achiuwa at the NBA level. And holy, if we see that emergence, my God, get ready for a long postseason run with the Toronto Raptors. That does it for me, folks. You've seen the list, you've heard the players. Is there another player here that is a bigger X factor for this team? Keeping in mind the definition of an X factor that I kind of tried to lay out at the beginning, but is there a bigger one that I haven't mentioned? If there is, you know the comment sections are open and you know I want to hear them, so drop it in there. And once again, reiterating the usual, like the video. If you're still here watching, you like the video, just hit that button. It takes a second and it makes a huge difference for me, like I always say. So do it and thank you. If you're new here and you're still watching, subscribe to the channel. I drop content at least once a week. I'm potentially trying to move to a 2-video a week schedule, still trying to sort that out and how that's gonna look in my head, so bear with me, but I think that transition is eventually gonna come, so you'll get fairly regular content from me. And once again, like I said earlier, to everybody that subscribed and helped me cross that 1K mark finally, thank you so much. Genuinely. That's me. It's been JJ Buckets. It's been real, and I will see everybody next time.